Hello everyone, my name is Alex and you're listening to the Sagar Stance podcast where I give my Sagar stance on anything and everything set up paddleboarding as well as personal lifestyle. I did that in one breath. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate. It is the holiday season, it is New Year's soon, Christmas soon, all the things, and with the end of the year comes new beginnings and also just thinking about the year and what we did and how it went and what we could have done better, what we succeeded in, and also just an overview of our resolutions. So I thought that I would take the time to go through my resolutions, how my year went, and I also want to talk about a few things that I want to do in the new year. And also coincidentally, the day that I am posting this, it is going to be officially the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. Woo! Yay! 1 year! I posted a total of 38 episodes, 39 if you count this one, and that also includes 2 bonus episodes and 1 trailer episode, which I'm thinking of redoing the trailer episode just because it's been a year and it's not much of a trailer. It's just like an old introduction of it's just me like officially announcing it. I might as well just make an actual trailer where I talk about what I actually talk about in the podcast. I'm also considering remaking the image, like the photo of the podcast, because that photo of me is almost a year and a half old and I think it's time for a little bit of change. I think I should use a photo that is a little bit more updated and looks more like me because I had just turned 18 and now I'm halfway through 19. So let's review everything from work to paddling to self-care. I want to talk about some struggles and fears, some things that I have learned, and how I will translate everything I learned into the new year. If you haven't watched, it's one of my very first episodes. It is called Do Not Start in 2024, Start Now, and I posted that around mid-December. I think it was December 19th because I posted a bulk of maybe 4 episodes when I first announced it. I talked about how when creating your resolutions, you don't want to just start on New Year's. You want to work towards those goals already before the New Year's even happens, because if you hit January 1st and all of a sudden you go from 0 to 100, that is not sustainable in the slightest. You want to slowly work towards those resolutions until on day 1, New Year's, whatever your first day is going to be considered, that is when you can go full-fledged because you've developed the consistency and the discipline already in the 2-3 weeks leading up to it. If you haven't watched that episode, go and watch it. It's one of my very first episodes, so it's probably really cringy. I haven't re-listened to any of my podcast episodes since I started posting. But yeah, let's start the episode with going through the resolutions that I made at the beginning of the year, and I will follow it by telling you whether or not I actually achieved them. Number 1 is do my skincare every day. Yes, I did do that. However, I made a really stupid mistake. And I stopped using the products that actually worked for me. So my skin got really bad and I'm still recovering from it. Also, back in May, I did a genetics test and I found that my body just naturally is really deficient in vitamin B. So I was tasked with taking a lot of vitamin B supplements. Come to find out, I went to the dermatologist like a week ago to finally talked to her about the fact that my skin is messed up. She said that vitamin B supplements can be a serious factor, like excess of vitamin B, or just not excess, but consuming vitamin B in that way, like supplement form, instead of just finding it from natural foods, can directly affect your acne. So who would have thought? Several months of me taking vitamin B supplements and I had no idea that it was directly affecting my skin. So we're working on that. I have new products and everything, so we're going to figure that out. Next one is keeping my hair healthy and growing it out. Safe to say I did do that. My hair is so long. It's crazy how long it is. I filmed a video at the beginning of the year of like the length of my hair. Haven't filmed the second part. I want to wait until the very end. But my hair has grown so much and I've been taking care of it a lot. But only in these past few months. I really only started back in October. I was losing hair like in handfuls for the entire year starting January. That was the reason why I wanted to take care of my hair, was because my hair was falling out. It was literally chunks of hair falling out every time I brushed my hair or washed my hair. chunks, like handfuls, were falling out. So that was a big thing for me to want to treat and take care of, and I didn't actually start doing that until October. And safe to say, my hair has gotten so much healthier since October, and it's only been 2 months, and I do see a drastic change in how much hair I've lost. Drink 2 hydro flasks of water a day. I'm pretty sure I did that. I think there are days where I did yes and no. I use a hydro flask because I have a hydro flask as my water bottle. Literally take this water bottle everywhere. I don't think I leave the house without it. Next is stay regimented with eating healthy, and I definitely yo-yoed a lot. I'll talk about it later, but yeah, I didn't follow any exact diet or anything, and there were times where I indulged, other times where I followed through. There's some things, I'm the type of person where I can't keep a consistent schedule. I have to break out from it, and that works in the way that I eat, and that also works in the way that I train and paddle and do all of those things. So if I'm doing something consistently for maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks, I get to the point where my body can't really do it, and I'll go out of my way to do something different. So whether that means like eating a ton of sweets or just burning out from training and not training for like several days, I don't know if that's something that I should fix or deal with, but it is something that I'm aware of. Next one, get a tan. Yes, I know it doesn't look like it. This camera makes my tan look almost non-existent, but I do have a tan. I finally kind of look like I belong here, like I live here. Also, my hair, since it's been getting longer, more chance for it to bleach. So my hair is a lot lighter near the end, and it's also noticeable on the top. Next one is journal every day. Didn't really do that. I had set a goal to complete my journal, to finish my journal, but ended up not doing that. So my goal is to finish it by March. Wake up early every morning. Yes, I did do that. I would wake up around like either 6:30 to 7. That was when I would wake up, and I did that relatively consistently throughout the entire year. I had set that habit back in 2023, and I kept it going for the entire year. Next one is paddle 5 days a week, and I'll also put that my other one is going to the gym 4 to 5 days a week. I didn't necessarily stay consistent with those, but it was also just the fact that me setting that goal to do all of that like consistently throughout the entire year, for me it was very unrealistic, and I'll talk about that later, how I'm learning to figure out how to set realistic goals for myself. Next is post a podcast episode once a week. Now, I try to do that, but there are days or weeks that I couldn't or felt unmotivated. In total, I posted, I guess if you include this one, 37 out of 52 weeks I posted an episode. So that is 70%, which is a C. If you think about it, there's definitely could have been better, and I cannot assure you that it will get better next year, but I will try to continue to keep on posting on this episode or on this podcast. Post a reel and or photo on Instagram once a week. I didn't do that. I'll talk about it later, but basically my joy, my motivation, inspiration for posting on Instagram kind of died when I got a promotion at my job, but I'll talk about it later. Post a YouTube video once every 2 weeks. If you don't know, I have a separate YouTube channel from this where I like to post little vlogs, little videos. I didn't do that, but I did post 15 videos. Technically, I only have 13 up, but I plan to have 2 out before the new year. So with percentage, if we're grading it again, I got 57%, which is failing. But whatever. I mean, I go through phases of wanting to post YouTube videos, of not wanting to post YouTube videos. Right now I'm in the phase of where I do want to post, so that's nice. Continue with knee exercises. Knees are a lot better. I continue with it. Halfway through the year, I started going to the gym with some friends, and we started doing leg. I was always nervous to do leg with my knees, but I was adding weight and everything, and through those exercises, my knees got so much better. And they're doing pretty good. Right now, because I didn't train or haven't done anything since the ICF, they are pretty sore, but I can't really do much about it. I just have to slowly work on them and get them back to where they were. Next one is read 12 books. I am currently out 18 and counting. This is my current read, A Court of Mist and Fury, one of those classic TikTok book talk books. This is the second book of the series, and I'm working through that. Hopefully I can try to finish the series by the end of the year, but those are really high goals. I don't know if I want to be able to do it. But yeah, I read it's going to be around 20 books by the end of the year, which is great. I became a reader, guys. It's crazy. Next one is buy as little as possible. Not really. Like, I finally was working, so I had money. So I did buy things. I did buy, like, more clothes and essentials as well, like things that I had been wanting to buy for a really long time but never did because I didn't have any money. I finally was able to buy them. I definitely bought more than I should have. I bought a total of maybe, I think it was like 112 items, which isn't that bad, but I definitely want to go lower. Practice French for 30 minutes a day. Yeah, that did not happen. But, however, I have a Skillshare subscription and it expires in the middle of January. And I told myself that I'm going to cancel that subscription, but if I do Italian leading up to that subscription expiring, I will buy myself a Rosetta Stone course for Italian. So we'll see how much I stick to that, because a Rosetta Stone subscription or course is expensive, and I need to convince myself or like let myself know that, hey, I'm going to be committed to this. So if I practice Italian leading up to that Skillshare subscription expiring, then I will get myself a Rosetta Stone course. Your girl is trying to become trilingual. All right, guys. Next is get a job. Yay! I can successfully say that I have succeeded in that one. I have 4 jobs, and we're doing pretty well. Next is keep screen time under 5 hours a day. And that seems like a lot, but as a person who lives online, especially because my biggest form of creative expression is online, making reels, making YouTube videos, a 5 hour screen time doesn't exactly seem like that much to me, but I've been averaging at around 3 hours, and that's with me having social media as a job. The best thing that I ever did was to give myself screen time limits on your phone or on my phone, and every time I tell that to people, they're like, oh, I do that, but I just keep on hitting ignore. Have someone give you a password, like have someone write a password for your screen time limits so you cannot easily ignore. Like, you'd have to go to that person and ask for the password to ignore the limit. My dad is the one that has the password, and so every time that I want to ignore the limit for a bit, I have to go find him. Next is travel to a new location. I did do that. I traveled to Siena, Italy, which was really nice. I did a girls trip with my mom back in April/May. So that was really fun. Next is focusing on using what you already have. I did okay with this. Like I said, I did buy more than I wanted to. In 2025, I'm going to be being like a lot more conscious with what I buy and all that stuff. I want to do this thing called Project Pan, where I basically have a set amount of items that I want to finish or use up by the end of the year or by a certain month. This includes, like I have right here, tinted sunscreen samples, a few makeup products that I like but don't love, but I'm not going to get rid of, so I'm just going to use them up as much as I can. I'm going to just prioritize using them. And then a few stationery items. 2025 is going to be the year of using what we already have and only buying refills of things that we absolutely love. Learn to subsurf and longboard. I didn't really do that. Didn't really subsurf. I think I went out and surfed a total of 4 or 5 times. Definitely want to do more, but I do say that every single year. Learn a new skill. I don't know if I did that. The only thing I wrote down is asking if flying a drone counts, because I had to learn to fly a drone for my job. Maybe that's a skill that I've learned, that you can consider it a skill. Stay disciplined in all aspects of life. This is 50-50. And also do everything with purpose, 50-50. I think I just did like half yes, half no. I didn't do amazingly, but I also didn't abandon everything that I wanted to do. I was definitely purposeful with a lot of things, not purposeful with others. It's just like a meh, if that makes sense. It's a 50-50. 50% yes, 50% no. And last one, do 1 arts and crafts project a week. No, I didn't do that, but my creative urges are definitely back. That creative itch is back, and I'll talk about that later. All right. Those were all of my resolutions. I think that was the most resolutions I've ever had for a year. Looking back, I did the math and everything. I really only succeeded in 12 out of 26 of my resolutions, which is 46%, not even 50%. And there is a pretty good reason for this, and I learned about this in The 12-Week Year, which is a book that I am reading and wanting to incorporate a lot more of its practices and teachings into my life. And it's basically just the fact that when we set our goals for 12 months, we lose steam very, very quickly because we have so much time to do things. So it's always like, oh, I'll just start it later. I'll start it later. I have until December. Like I have this amount of months, this amount of weeks. And it's also really common as like New Year's resolutions to not lay out specifics, to not be specific, cannot speak, like not creating systems, not creating like a detailed explanation of what you want to do and how you want to do it. So you find cheat codes, you find cracks in your goals to convince yourself to not do them, all these things. But like also, for example, in my paddling and gym resolutions, it was so specific, but it was laid out across 12 months. And seeing that of like, oh my goodness, I have to paddle 5 days a week. I have to go to the gym 4 to 5 days a week, and I have to do that for the entire month. That felt like heavy on my chest, like, oh my God, I have to do that. So I would psych myself out and not do it. And you get demotivated too, because you see like if you're doing good on the first or second week and you're like, yeah, this is great, but then you realize you have 50 other weeks to go through, you're like, oh, really? Like I feel like I've barely done anything. So that's why with my 2025 goals, I want to separate my year into quarters, which is 12 weeks. I think you know where I'm going with this. Because if you have a closer end date, like 3 months, there's less of a chance to drag out your goal or to get demotivated, because instead of being like, oh, I have to do this for 12 months, it's like, oh, I can do this for 3 months. But that's more of talking about the future. I want to still talk about the past a little bit. I want to talk about a few specifics that I did during 2024. Let's start off with paddling. I participated in a total of 3 competitions. I participated in the Pro Stylita Sup Open, the Celebración del Día de Muertos. It was a competition done on Day of the Dead to commemorate and everything, and the ICF in Sarasota, Florida. I have podcast recaps for the Sup Open and the ICF, and I also talk about the Day of the Dead competition, so if you want to check those out, please do. We also hoped to go to the Gorge Paddle Challenge. We had everything booked, everything ready to go, only for them to cancel it due to insufficient funds, which was really unfortunate. I'm the type of person who finds their motivation and drive in getting ready for competitions. Like nothing feels better or more motivating than feeling that drive, that little itch in the back of your head, being like, oh, your competition's coming soon. This event's coming soon. You gotta step it up a little bit. There's no better feeling in the world to me than that. So throughout the year, because there weren't any competitions, the first competition was the Sup Open, which was in March, and the second competition I did was the Day of the Dead. That was in November. So there was a huge separation of competition, or just like time where I was not competing, not getting ready for an event that was like relatively close, and that killed my motivation for a large part of the year. I was still doing things, I was still paddling relatively consistently, but I wasn't paddling to a standard that I would have liked. And as a paddler, I really don't think I improved that much. I feel like I said before, I feel like I went back and forth on my training. There were weeks where I did really good, weeks where I did really bad in regards to consistency and all that stuff. I definitely am really, really prone to burnout, and it's hard for me to find a healthy balance, especially when I do everything on my own. I don't have a coach, I don't have a trainer, so a lot of it is on my own. So it's hard for me to set up systems for myself to motivate myself during a training session when I'm the only one out there. And on top of that, a lot of people can do it on their own, and I applaud them. But as a person who has been doing it alone for a really long time and never had a base, like I never really actually had a full-on coach where they created a plan for me, so there's nothing for me to go off of. Anyways, that's everything that had to do with competitions I want to talk about at the beginning of the year. I talk about it a lot at the beginning of the podcast episode too, because there was always something going on at the beginning of the year, because Christian Anderson and SupDog were down here for their training academy all that stuff. When it came to paddling, I got pushed more than I had in a while. It was so refreshing to be kicked in the ass. It was so refreshing, but also having a smile on your face the entire time, because that was the first time in forever that I had entered a flow state, a paddling flow state like that. And I don't think I've hit my flow state since then. Definitely, I'm the type of person who needs people better than me paddling. And I can say that, like, oh, I train with my brother, I train with my friend. He's technically my coach, but he doesn't actually coach me. He kind of is like, oh, we're training today. Oh, okay. They're faster than me, but it's like I've grown comfortable to having them ahead of me. Whereas having new people, fresh faces around me and having them be better than me, it was very nice, and it was very motivating, and I was really sad when they left. Really, really sad. Also, in July, I switched from an SIC 21.5 RS to an SIC 21 RST. At the beginning of the year, I was still struggling to deal or balance with my RS because I switched from a 2018 RS to a 2023 RS, and the balancing systems on those two are completely different. The 2018 one, the balance, you find your balance on the edges, whereas the 2023 RS, you find your balance in the middle. And that was a huge transition that I struggled a lot to figure out. I had actually received the board in August of 2023, but that was when I did all of my traveling, went to DC, I went to Europe, so multiple months at the end of the year of 2023 were taken up by traveling, so I never really got to be on it until the new year, until 2024, and I was struggling a lot with it. I was still struggling with it once the SUP Open hit, and that was at the beginning of March, and I remember talking to Julia Duhaim and Itzel Delgado at the competition, asking them if this was normal, if it was normal to like be months into using a board and to still not understand it fully, because I was getting impatient. I was getting tired and frustrated that I couldn't figure this out. And they were like, don't worry about it. It is totally normal to take a long time to be fully comfortable on a board. And they said just to keep paddling it, keep on paddling it, keep on figuring it out, keep on learning about it, and just stay consistent. So that made me feel a lot better with the situation that I was in. And then pretty much right when I figured out everything to do with that board, I was switched to the RSD. And I'd say that I'm still learning about it. I was pretty comfortable on it at the ICF, but that was really just because it was flat water. Once I hit the open water and I'm getting side wind, I get waves, turns, I do still make a lot of balancing mistakes, but I'm on the right track and I just have to continue to use it and just stay consistent in my training. That's all for paddling. I want to talk about work. I'm going to talk about work, and I'm going to talk about a few personal things, and then I'm going to go into my hopes for 2025. So work. At the beginning of the year, I was going through it. I felt what I was 6 months into being 18, did not have a job, no source of income, and I still live with my parents, and I felt really stagnant. And I talked about this feeling in another episode called The Struggles of Adulthood, I think it's called. And yeah, I just felt really stagnant. I felt like I wasn't succeeding in anything, but I slowly found small gigs, little small jobs to do once or twice during the week. And then at the end of January, I also started an internship as a social media intern with an advertisement company here in town. And once June hit, I became an official team member. My hours were bumped up a little bit more, not that much, but a little bit more. It was a paid internship. My pay got a little bit better, had a few more responsibilities. And then pretty much right when they gave me that position, I found out that the then social media manager was leaving. Like she was going to leave the company. She was going to move away. And I had been working under her for 6 months at that point during my internship, that I was the first person that they went to for this now open position. So in August, I officially became social media manager, and I have a big girl job, guys. I don't know if you consider social media as a big girl job, but I have a lot of responsibilities. I work with clients. I do a lot of admin work. I do social media work. I run 2 different accounts for my job. I'm doing pretty good, and I feel really happy. I still have my small gigs. I still have enough time to do all of that stuff. My official title for my job is a content and service coordinator, because while I also do content for their social medias and everything, I also do a lot of service. Like I said, I talk to clients, I do admin work, all that stuff. So it's sometimes hard because I personally, when it comes to the business side and when it comes to understanding social media and all that stuff, I don't have any schooling. It was just a interest that I've had for forever. I think I was a little YouTuber back in 2019. I posted twice a week. I was a YouTuber, little YouTuber. I think I was 13 when I was posting those videos. You cannot find them on the internet anymore, just by the way. But yeah, I had no schooling, so there's things that are supposed to be common knowledge or supposed to be things that I'm supposed to know, but I don't. So it's definitely a lot of learning and figuring things out and understanding how everything works. And also, not to mention that I am the youngest team member by 15 years. I'm a completely different generation from the rest of the team. So I do work a little bit differently, not in a negative way, just a different way. And so it's a mix of them understanding how I work and me understanding how they work, because I've also never really worked in an office setting with people 15, 20 years my senior. So it's a lot different, but we're figuring out, we're learning. Okay, I'm just going to say full-time position because it's a lot easier to say, but technically I work 30 hours a week instead of the normal 40, which is considered full-time. So once I got my quote-unquote full-time position, I slowly started to realize, I'm like, oh, it slowly started to hit me that like, oh, I'm going to be working for the rest of my life. This is something that I'm going to have to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to have to constantly figure out where I'm going to get money, how I'm going to earn it, all these things. So that was an interesting realization that I had, and I still get hit by it every once in a while. But yeah, when I first became the social media manager back in August, a lot of things changed in my life. First off, I had like so many more responsibilities. So I had to learn how to reorganize my time and redirect my energies. And that also meant that a lot of my creative energy got redirected from personal projects to my work, because social media is a creative job. So when I would be filming, editing, posting videos, posting on social media throughout the entire day because of my work, and then I'd get home, the last thing I wanted to do was to do that. So a lot of my personal projects went on the burner. That included my podcast. I don't think that was, once August hit was when I really slowed down in my posting. My Instagram was put to the side, and yeah, all of my interest in posting and making YouTube videos was gone too. But now that December is here, I've kind of settled into my job. I'm still learning things, I'm still figuring it out, but I've started to be able to separate my work projects from my personal projects. So I've been trying to post a little bit more, post a few more Instagram reels, trying to get my podcast back up and running, and posting a few more YouTube videos. I didn't talk about this in the podcast episode. Oh, but by the way, my ICF vlog is out, so I definitely recommend you watch it, because you can watch my vlog and you can watch my podcast, and there's just different parts of the story, different parts of the trip. But yeah, I also posted 3 vlogs leading up to the ICF, just every single week leading up to the ICF, what I did, preparations. It was the Day of the Dead celebration, so I filmed that, and just how my life looks. So I edited and posted all of that. I think I've posted at least 4 YouTube videos in the past 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm going to post 2 more by the end of the year. So safe to say that my urge to do art has continued, or it's come back. My love to do digital art, aka like videos and all that stuff. So now let's get into a personal review, things that I learned, just instead of it being paddling and work, it's just kind of just general things that I learned throughout the year. A big thing was that I learned to stay still. This year was a very sedentary year. Like I said, I had 3 competitions. Only one of them was international. The other 2 were at the beach where I live. So I was not traveling. And coming off of like 4 to 5 months of traveling at the end of 2023, it felt like I had to continue doing stuff like that. But I'm getting older. I am not settling down, but I'm becoming more of an adult. And at this moment in time, my life is not in international scenes, traveling and all that stuff. I hope to continue to compete and everything, but I cannot just drop everything that I'm doing and travel for a month like I did in 2023. So I definitely learned to stay still, settle in to a consistent and habitual life. Obviously, I mix it up. I change things because I cannot live a life where it's just the exact same thing every day. There were a lot of times during this year where I did feel that life was getting way too repetitive and I would feel stuck in the same cycle. But there's things to break me out of it, and I found those things and everything was nice. And also near the end of the year, I mentioned this, but my creative itch came back. I did have a big creative itch at the beginning of the year. I'd say I did this in May, so even it wasn't near like the first part of the year, but I redid my entire room. That was a really fun project for me to do. But then later in the year, I did things like sewing. I sewed a tote bag. I'm selling little pouches to sell at the local market. I made I made 2 paper mache whale sharks to put on my wall. So cute. I also did a starfish too. And I also painted a little bit. I feel like I've spent way too much time on a screen, like in front of a screen, for the past 5 years. And that includes school, work, and also posting YouTube videos and having a digital creative outlet. So I'm starting to find more hobbies outside of the digital scene, and that's sewing, that's painting, and it's also reading. Even in these past few days, I've found myself being like, okay, I need to take a break from the screen. I can't do this. And I go and read my book. And like I said before, currently have read 18 books, but I want to reach 20 by the end of the year. And I have to thank my Kindle for that. Can we all give a round of applause for my Kindle? Majority of these books that I read, I think 75% of the books that I have read this year were from my Kindle and were received for free from my library card. There's a little app called Libby that my mom and I get digital books and we read from there. So reading for me is a fairly cheap hobby. And this book that I have, A Court of Mist and Fury, but I think people call it the ACOTAR series. I don't know, man. People are obsessed with this series, and I am only a little bit through the second book, still trying to find the hype. I mean, it's good, but people are obsessed with it. But anyways, like I was saying, this book series that I have isn't even mine. It's being borrowed. So I definitely don't want to spend money on books. That's not what I want to do. I have access to so many resources to find books that I like for free. That I can find books for free, whether it be borrowing online through a library app or with friends. I have a library here in town. So yeah, let's all thank my Kindle for getting me into reading, and let's also thank the series that I watched that inspired me to read. It was the Shadow and Bone series, and I knew it was based off of a book, and I wanted a Kindle so I could read the book because I didn't want to get a physical book. And as of now, I have one more book of the series to read. There's a total of 7 books, and I'm on book 7. So, also in regards to my podcast, there are a few things that changed. I remember at the beginning of the year, I had a plan and I had a way that I would create episodes and just ideas that I didn't necessarily like, and so I did take a break in February. I didn't post in February for my podcast, but I came back with a better understanding of what I wanted to do with the podcast and how I wanted to present myself and present my ideas and everything. And I think since then it's been a lot better. I'll be completely honest, I am running out of ideas. For some reason, there's just nothing popping up in the noggin. So if you have any ideas or things that you want me to talk about, please let me know, and I'll definitely consider. I have a few more ideas for sure, but I know that it wouldn't last me a year. And like I said before, I cannot say that episodes will be consistent because sorry to say, I have a life now. I have work, I have job, and I have stuff to do, not to mention training and everything. It's getting harder and harder to find time out of my week to figure out an idea, outline an episode, record an episode, edit an episode. It's definitely harder nowadays, but I do want to continue doing it. How I paid for another year of the thing that I use for podcasts, so I have to continue it. So that's all for my 2024. Now I want to talk about what's next for my 2025. So I hope to do my 2025 lifestyle era, however you want to call it, working with a new system, which is from the 12-week year. So it's basically working 12 weeks at a time, working 3 months at a time. By the end of 2024, I really learned to just look at projects that I have to do, just a step-by-step process, and I only looked at the step in front of me. And I did not look at the big picture, because so many things happened that if I looked at the big picture, I would go insane. So I really only looked at what was right in front of me, and I only put my attention towards what was right in front of me. And I did use this thought process at the ICF. I mentioned this in the podcast episode, but my preparation for my competitions was to not think about my competition. It was to just, okay, I have to warm up, okay, I have to get on the water, okay, I have to race, okay, I have to rest. And I never thought about anything super far forward or super far ahead, because I knew I was just going to go crazy. And especially now, like recently in this past week, there's so many things that I want to do. Wanted to get this podcast episode out, wanted to get the ICF episode out, want to make YouTube videos, I have to sew a few more pouches for the market, all these things. But I'm like, okay, what takes priority right now? So yesterday it was the ICF vlog. So I'm like, okay, going to finish the ICF vlog. And today, because of the anniversary, because my podcast anniversary, wanted to post it on my podcast anniversary. So I was like, okay, podcast episode takes priority now that my ICF video is done. Things like that. And it makes me feel a lot better, more comfortable in my skin. And everything is a lot more bearable now. So I really hope to translate this thought process into a lot of other things that I do in my life. Also, there's something that's been going on in my head. I'm going to be 20 next year, which is crazy. I feel like 19 is just this middle ground between 18 and 20. You're not really, it's just like a little, like a pause, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm going to be 20 next year. Dad, don't freak out, all right? And sometimes when I look in the mirror, I still see a young teenager, like a little kid, and I have absolutely no idea what's going on with my life. I don't know what I'm doing, what's happening. And then other times I look in the mirror and I see a grown woman who has her life together, who is figuring things out and is being successful in figuring things out and understanding her emotions and reading the room, just all these things. Growing up is really weird, because I also am like realizing when I was younger, like I wasn't conscious. Like I was there and I have memories, but I wasn't actually like conscious and figuring things out and processing things, because I don't know, there'd be situations where I'm like, wow, I wasn't thinking about anything during that time. And if I were to be in the same situation, I would have thought about so many different things. And yeah, it's weird growing up, guys. It's a little weird. And like I just said before, things can get overwhelming if I think about the big picture, that if I think about the fact that I'm growing up, I'm getting older, I can feel that I am getting older. My brain is changing. My mind and thoughts are changing. It can get a little overwhelming and it's scary, because it's like I'm a different person, but I'm the same person that I've always been. This topic should probably be saved for another episode. But yeah, the thing that is keeping me stable and keeping me just okay with the fact that all of these mental stuff is happening is just the fact that everyone goes through it. Literally everyone. So this is a shared experience. It's not like I'm going through this alone. Another thing that I want to do is I want to do what is called a low buy year. I am creating a rule for myself to like only allow refills of certain things, not to buy anything new. I gave myself, I allowed myself 5 new pairs of clothing and 6 new items total to allow myself to buy during next year. So I'm going to work with that. A part of me thinks it's like, oh my god, I can't do this. It's 12 months. It's a whole year of like not spending anything. But I'm like, wait, I told myself that I was going to work in 3-month increments. So for all I know, the goal is the first 3 months is to not buy anything, or to do a low buy 12 weeks. Alright, and I am going to post a YouTube video about it. Next one is to learn Italian, and I think, I talked about this before. I want to get a Rosetta Stone course, but I need to tell myself and be disciplined to where I am comfortable spending that much money for a course. So that's what I'm doing. Another thing is saving money. I have a goal to save a certain amount of money by the first 3 months, 12 weeks. So that's something that I'm going to be working on for the first 3 months. I also want to work on consistency over explosivity. As long as I get on the water, as long as I go to the gym, for me, consistency is the thing that's causing me a lot more stress and problems, and that's the thing that I'm lacking in. So as long as I am disciplined, I feel good enough. It doesn't matter if it wasn't an amazing training session, as long as I went out there and did something, it's good enough for me. And lastly, I want to slow down as much as I can. Recently, I've been on 100% of the time leading up to the ICF and now post ICF. It's slowed down a little bit, but I still feel like I am like running through everything that I am doing. But I really want to find pockets of relaxation and also create those pockets of relaxation for myself so I can rest, I can calm down, and I can just turn off my mind and think about other things and just slow down. That's a big thing that I want to do next year. I want to find times for myself where I am not looking at a screen, where I'm not working or thinking about a next podcast episode or thinking about training. I just want to be able to find times where I just head empty, no thoughts. That's all I want to do. And as for the entire year, I don't really have any goals. I really only have goals for the first 3 months. And if those, I'm going to check myself, and if those goals are still something that I want to work towards, then they will continue on for the next 3 months. And the whole point of doing it is to check yourself I think it's like to check yourself every week, but also every 12 weeks, and to adjust accordingly to how everything is going, whether I need to step up my game or whether I need to chill out a little bit. I like having the short amounts of time to think about these things, and it's good. I'm excited to continue to practice the 12-week year in the year of 2025. So yeah, that is all for now. This is going to be a pretty long episode, but that's how it works. It's the end of the year. It's the mixture of everything and what's going to happen. I am going to take a break for the holiday season. My grandmother and my mom are coming into town, so I am going to not worry about the podcast, not worried about posting and anything like that. It'll start back up next year in 2025. Ooh. But yeah, that is it for today. Thank you so much for listening or watching. Really appreciate it. Make sure to rate the podcast, and I'll see you guys in 2025. Bye.